All right. Thank you for being here today, everyone, for our January RQAP Open Forum. We have a pretty short presentation that we'll go through that has some information, and then we will take your questions, and it'll probably be the majority of the hour will probably be questions. But to get started, we're actually going to do a poll. So if we could have everyone please answer the question that should be showing up for you. If you're connected via the web, you may not be seeing a poll right now, but if you are in the Zoom app, you should be seeing a poll that asks what your current relationship is to the RQAP program. And just a note that poll responses are anonymous, but if you put any responses in the chat, those will not be anonymous. We will be able to see who put any chat responses in. It looks like we have got just about everybody has participated. So I'm going to go ahead and end it. And we will look at the results here. So we have sort of majority of folks who have never taken the exam but are considering taking one soon. And then about equal numbers of people who haven't taken the exam but are planning to take it the next exam window, and people who are current RQAPs who have re-registered before. So that's great. Thanks everybody for letting us know. It's helpful for us to know who is in the audience before we start. On the call, I promise I'm not the only one who's going to be talking today, but we have the SQA Council on Professional Registrations chair and chair-elect. So Nancy Moore is the chair and Dawn Nickham is the chair-elect, and they are going to take us through our slides. So Nancy, you're going to get us started.
Thanks, Jen. So thanks everybody for coming out today. I'm excited about your interest in the exam. I'm a RQAP GLP myself, so I've been through the process. It's been a few years. I'll walk you through the first set of slides, and these are mostly about the exam and the logistics around preparing, what you have to do to get ready for the exam or to apply for the exam. So just a few statistics on the current state of our program. We still have a majority of our QAP GLP versus GCP, but it's a little more than half now. So, or 50%, I guess, of the number of GLP. So that's rising. And then folks who have a dual credential, they have both the GCP and GLP. We have 21. So great job. Kudos to that group. And our average passing rate for the life of the exam is 71% for GCP, and 72 for GLP. So it's about the same. And the average number of new candidates each year right now is 71 for GLP and 48 for GCP. I believe that's increasing on the GCP side. Should we go to the next one? So what do you need to do to be eligible to sit for either of the exams, GCP or GLP? You need to have either a bachelor's degree and 2 years of full-time experience in the area of expertise that you want to go be certified for, either GCP or GLP. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, then you would need 4 full years of experience. And we'll break that down a little bit on the next slide. So what does that full-time QA experience mean? It means that your role is 100% QA focused during that time. So if maybe your first year, you're only 50% focused on QA, then you would need an additional year. So it's 100% of 4-year time equivalent without a bachelor's degree, and 100% 2-year time equivalent with a bachelor's degree. So you need to make sure that time equivalent equivalates to the full amount. Um, and and the reason for this is we'll get into later. You need that experience in audits and inspections, learn on GCP side for the informed consent, test article, oversight of investigational product, accountability and traceability, um, all the aspects of studies, having oversight and auditing on critical phases. And then also you'll need to understand SOP writing, um, reviewing with management your findings, reporting of findings. That's not on here, but these are all important aspects. You basically need to know how to do the job and do it well before you can sit and take the exam, because that full-time experience will help you be successful in your career, and it will also help you be successful in the exam. And so we'll talk a little bit about what doesn't count. Just because you've worked in GCP, maybe you're a monitor, or you've been an investigator, or work in GLP, maybe you've been like a study director. That does not equate to QA experience. You need to show that you've had the total amount of time in the quality assurance role for the time required to apply for the exam. And again, what I said on the previous slide, the exams are designed to test not only knowledge base, as in book knowledge, right, learning knowledge. It's also, can you apply the QA principles? Can you act as a professional in the position of QA and be able to show that you can understand a situation, a situational question, and how to relate or react to that situation in an appropriate manner for QA professional. Um, so studying the regulations, having a full understanding of the regulations is important, but in that last bullet, exams definitely require more than just knowing your subject matter. You really need to understand what you're doing. And that's what differentiates a RQAP successful candidate who's passed the exam. I guess we'll go to the next slide. So costs, this is really not my area, but well, I'll just cover the costs. If you're a non-member, I think most of us perhaps are members, but if you're a non-member, then it's 625 US dollars. If you're a member of an MOU organization, we have a link to the list I think we'll send out. It would be 535 US dollars. SQA members, it's 450 US dollars. And then if you're in a outreach country, we have a list for that that would classify as low income or low to middle upper income. It's 150, and we also have a list for that. There are a couple extra fees if you have a situation that applies to you. For example, if you're late in your application but still meeting the pre-test deadline, it would be 50 additional dollars. And then if there's a accommodation that needs to be provided for non-native English speakers, there is a $50 fee. And then we have some particular accommodations depending on your requirement for a disability, and this would be offered at no cost depending on the situation.
And there's a question about what an
Yep,
MOU organization is. Those are organizations that SQA has a memorandum of understanding with. For example, RQA, JSQA. There are several other quality assurance organizations internationally that SQA has a memorandum of understanding with. And so we will send out the slides, and that blue MOU organization is a link that takes you to the SQA website that has a list.
that's a great question. Thank you. Thanks for answering it, Jen. All right. All right, so our delivery options, we'll answer the question about the exam dates in just a moment. Delivery options, we have two options. You can go into a testing center. I believe we have a list of testing centers that you'll can look at if you reach out to our headquarters group. This is the recommended option because it's more easily proctored, or we also have a remote on view option. It's an exam that you take virtually that's proctored from your home. Um, it's available, however, it's not, I would say, the most optimal situation for most folks because of the many requirements there are for technology. And also, there's some real specifications around movement. You have to be looking at the screen the whole time. You can't get up and take a bathroom break or anything like that. It's really, really focused on you looking at the screen the whole time with special, a mouse, wired LAN. So it is an option. The best option is going into the testing center. So there's some questions around, this is, I think, my last slide on how the exam is developed. How are the RQAP exams created? It's actually a fairly lengthy process. There are a lot of volunteers involved. So thank you so much to any of you on the call who might have volunteered to help with exam creation, or occasionally we refresh the exam questions. So 2 exam committees there. We have one for GCP and one specifically for GLP. Occasionally you might see a job task analysis or job survey, and that's if it comes from CPR, then we're probably looking to just make sure that our task analysis matches the exam content and questions. There's a content outline that was written or is written based on the results of the task analysis. And then the items are written and selected to fill in the content outline. That's a fairly lengthy process. And then once that's completed, a few experts or folks who are professionals in the area will take the exam, and so we'll do a passing score study to see, what that passing exam rate should be. Once that's completed, the exams are administered. And then once that's completed, each item is looked at to make sure that there's not an item that might unduly have a very, I guess, a low response. So, an item that really threw people off for some reason. I think that's rare, but if it does, then that's removed from the group of items. And then the exams are finalized and the scores are released, the passing scores released. To move this. Okay, so as the time for, I think we've had our exams in place for over 10 years. So as time goes on, the exam questions are looked at in relevance to current situations, and we might send out a job task analysis again to reevaluate the relevance of our questions. And just a plug here. So once you get your registration, you do need to re-register. So you need to complete continuing education. So you can, RQAPs can earn region registration credits for being part of this process. There's certain aspects, it might be part of the passing score study or writing exam items. And I think that we'll have some opportunities for that at the 2024 annual meeting, perhaps. So just a plug in for that. And we had a couple of questions pop up. I don't know if we want to answer those or move on to the next slide.
Yeah, it might be helpful. Lydia answered the one about the exam dates, but just to say it out loud so it's in the recording. The exam dates after the next round. We offer the exam in March to April and in September to October every year. And so the next exam dates after the March, April dates will be the 23rd of September to the 26th of October, 2024. And then there's a question about if questions of previous exams are available for practice, and the answer to that is no. And the reason is that we don't throw out questions unless they're bad. We do change out the questions on different forms of the exam, but we never decommission a question unless it's a bad question. So we wouldn't want to give you bad questions to practice on because that's not very helpful. We have developed, a number of years ago, we developed practice exam questions, and those were developed using the same process that exam questions are written with, but by a different group of people. Um, and so we have those available on our website. It is sort of like a tiny exam. So the exam itself is 165 questions, of which 150 of them actually count toward your grade. You don't know which 150, because 15 of them our questions were pilot testing to see if they're good questions to include on future exams. But the practice exams are 30 questions. And so the timing that you're given to take the practice exam is proportional to the amount of exam time that you get for the big exam. But it's obviously a shorter amount of time because it's a smaller amount of questions, and you can absolutely access the practice exams, but that is what we have. And then thanks. I'm not really sure what a model question paper is, that Anita asked about, but Anand says that he has a practice paper. So I'm not entirely sure about that. And then thanks to Ed for noting that FDA's SBIA sessions also count towards RQAP re-registration units. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next, and I think Dawn is going to take it from here.
I am. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Dawn Nickham. I am the chair-elect for CPR. I am a RQAP GCP, actually, and excited to be here. So we will talk about a few other things of ways you can do re-registration in a minute, and the CBIA is a great way to do that. Things to prepare for the RQAP exam. And Nancy already alluded to this, that experience is the key. We do require at least 2 years of experience because it's not designed to be passed through study alone. We really are looking at least a basic knowledge of your area of expertise in GCP or GLP. These preparatory resources are very helpful. So you have the RQAP candidate handbook that's on the SQA website, and there's a link here. There's also the SQA study group recordings, and I think actually I saw Camilla in the chat post that there is some being restarted up as well. So there are some study groups that are often run. There are the practice exams that Jen actually talked about a moment ago that are available. There are the Candidate Connect forums. So these are available on SQA Connect, that you can actually ask each other questions and talk to other candidates and see what they're looking at, ask questions, think about what else you might want to be looking at. And then there's also a resource page that's going to be coming soon, and we're going to collect the information resources in one place, including some advice from past candidates and current registrants. So things that you may be thinking about of ways that helped you pass the exam for your current people with the certifications, please think about sending that to us, but also as you start studying, for those thinking of taking the exam, we're hoping to pull that all together for you as well. Okay, so for re-registration, pretty simple. 1 hour of education is 1 unit. There are other activities as described. There is an SOP, of course, and on the website, other activities that you can do. And actually, there's a lot of activities you can do besides going to conferences and paying money to do this, although sometimes those are the easiest way. You need 48 units every 3 years, and 24 of those need to be discipline specific. So whether you're a GCP or GLP, depending on that. You submit everything online. These are submitted to a volunteer re-registration committee, and actually I've sat on that and I review these. These volunteers will look at this and ensure that they meet the requirements for that unit. They're going to look at what you did, make sure you've given them all the evidence, and make sure that you've marked the right categories. Remember, these are QA professionals, so they are going to be checking on things. And they're going to be in touch with you if they need more information, and they'll let you know what you need. And as well as, Lydia and headquarters actually will help you as well. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure you get credit for what you have done, but we'll also let you know if you've submitted something that may not qualify for re-registration units, because sometimes folks do that. You can re-register without paying for any conferences or training courses, but again, it's harder, but it can be done. And some of that's going to be for volunteering for other things, being on the re-registration committee. It can be being part of specialty committees. It can be being part of the exam committee. Lots of different things you can do with an SQA that can get you units for your RQAP. Also, and I think I saw a few in the chat already, in-house training by your own organization. So if you do either participate in as you went to that training or you delivered that training, that can count for your re-registration. You just have to provide evidence of that. If you presented at a webinar or a conference, again, give us evidence of that, and you can do that. If you attended a webinar, we offer tons of webinars all throughout the year, and those are automatically going to give you those re-registration units as long as you're registered for that in there. Actually, that's a beautiful way to do that. If you're selected, if you serve on an elected or appointed board or committee, so there's lots of ways to do that, or an RRT or a task force. Again, you can get those units. You just have to report it in the online learning center. Serve on a volunteer committee or specialty section chair or vice chair. Again, report those. Write an article or publication. Put those in there. You could be a mentor or a mentee and get sorry. Oh, I heard something. You can get credit for that. Review the conference abstracts. Get credit for that. And again, I mentioned this before, help with the exam development committees. There will be opportunities at the 2024 annual meeting. I think that's something like 8 units that you can get for that. So it's a great opportunity.
Sorry, Don, I was trying to mute and
That's
I think
okay.
I accidentally muted you.
That's okay, no worries. What I was just saying for the annual meeting, it's a great opportunity not only to earn units, but to meet other folks that also hold the certification and continue to develop your network. So lots of low or no cost registration activities, and that's 90% of what I get for mine, other than I go to the annual meeting. And you go to one annual meeting, you almost have it for your 3 years too. Okay. All right, so we have done surveys, and does anyone care if I have an RQAP? And so we have asked this, and we looked at a survey of about 210 respondents, and depending on who we asked, and I don't know if I can see all the results here, but again, it may
This is our survey of management specifically.
of management. Okay, and I don't know if we have. Jen, can you help me out? Because I don't have the notes on this, so I don't know. All I'm seeing.
Sure. Yeah, we conducted this survey. These results are from January 2020, and we are going to do a new survey of management this year. In this first quarter is our goal. So the results are 4 years old, but I expect the responses will be fairly similar. So this is just letting you know like what level of management the respondents were, but then this is what they said as far as their top benefits.
Great, thanks. And I'll keep going then. Thank you. I saw that and I panicked a little bit. I'm like, I don't know what to say about this. Top benefits, it does confirm that an employee has a working knowledge of the necessary regulations and tasks of a QA professional. 76% said that. You know, again, think about us as QA professionals, we're looking at people having appropriate training and experience. Certification certainly shows that. It is a nice, good goal for QA employees to continue their professional growth and knowledge, especially as you're keeping up this credential. It does contribute to strong and knowledgeable, reliable QA function, increases with confidence. And I have seen that in my own team that I've encouraged to get the credential, and I do encourage my own. I'm actually in executive leadership, and I do encourage my own team to go get this credential as well. And again, it's a justification to keep our QA employees trained because they need the continuing education hours to renew their credential. So it helps you from that end as well.
Okay, and then this is from a survey that has just ended. So these responses are from results from a survey of all RQAPs that just ended this month. Okay,
great. So 144 registrants, and we were asked how the credential benefited them. 55% actually said they rated it at a 4 or 5, that it helped them being hired or promoted to the job they wanted, which was very nice. 39% said 4 or 5 that they got a higher salary than they would have had without the credential. And then lastly, that it helps force the registrant to complete continuing education. 79% said that. And what's really nice, more than half the respondents' companies paid for continuing education fees to maintain the credential. So there's still companies out there that are helping you, but even as we noted, there are opportunities to maintain the credential without paying for courses, because there's lots of courses out there you can get for free.
Yeah, I'll also just note, I don't have necessarily a number for this, but for the other 43% whose companies did not pay, I would say a substantial number of them said they were independent consultants, and therefore, I mean, their companies do kind of pay, but it's their own personal pocket that is the company. So
yeah, I think it depends, you know, it depends on the company if they'll pay it. It depends on the size of the company. And I know companies are sometimes shrinking their dollars on what they're paying for all of us to go to conferences and so forth. But, you know, certainly there are opportunities, and lots of opportunities, I think SQA and other organizations are offering to continue your continuing education without breaking the bank to do so. Okay, last but not least, lots of commonly asked questions are addressed on the website. So here's some quick links. We have some on the GCP and GLP exams, on re-registration and the FAQ. Remember the SQA Connect for re-registration. There's just lots and lots for the candidates, lots and lots of things on that forum that I think is very helpful. And again, a chance to connect with other people that are in the same boat that you are. And then always rqap@sqa.org. Please reach out to that at any time, and we will get back to you with what we have. And with that, I think we can open up to questions.
Oh, I saw a hand go up. Camilla, go ahead and just unmute yourself and let us know what you have to say.
Then, sorry, I will just lower my hand, not to keep it up. It's tiring. I think it's a great opportunity not to ask questions, but to inform people attending this call that we have revived and restarted the study groups starting this year. So both GLP and GCP study groups will be starting in February. We are just refining the last details. So most likely the GCP will start the week commencing February the 12th, and the GLP 1 week earlier, because there is larger content to cover, and it does not have to be the same duration. So we will offer 7 and 6 meetings to cover different areas that are part of the exams, so like topical areas. We will go through some of the sample questions, and there will be always a panel. So the panelists will be sharing their experience. You will have the opportunity to ask them questions, and we will try to dedicate the last part of the last meeting purely to Q&A, so that you have as much chances as possible to ask questions. You will see more details, the day and the time. We are planning to have it in such a way that there is no overlap. The only outlier, the meetings will be on the regular days. The outlier will be the week starting the 12th, because there is this 3-day FDA, MHRA, and I think it's Health Canada, the third one. It's the workshop. So that actually, for those who are re-registering, will be also counted as an activity if you attend. By the way, it's always useful. So that week, the day will be different from the rest of the days. So we are looking forward to welcome you. It's open also to those who are just interested to see and learn more. Not necessarily you have to go and sit for the term now in spring. So that's what I'm hoping. We will all enjoy, have fun, and learn something. It's both for the panelists, because you might have tricky questions from different situations, and hopefully for you as those going for the exams. Thank you.
Thank you, Camilla, and thank you so much for taking this on. This has been Camilla's passion project over the last few months, and we really appreciate it. It's the study program is entirely volunteer run, and that means that it takes a lot of effort for our volunteers who are also working their full-time jobs and living their lives and trying to earn their RQAP re-registration units and all of that sort of thing. So we really appreciate all of them. We will be sending out emails to sign up for the study sessions when we have a final schedule of them. Last time we did these, we did 2 or 3 rounds in a row, and we just had a registration form that you filled in to sign up for all of the study sessions in either GCP or all of the study sessions in GLP, and then you would just get, the Zoom notifications and everything so that you could access them. And we typically record them, so if you have to miss one, then you can still watch the recording. So that's wonderful. We're really excited to offer those, and they are free of charge. So we'll be sending that information out when it's available. I see another hand up from Kimberly.
Hey, hang on, let me get that hand lower. Okay, hey, thank you for taking my question. So I was looking through the handbook, and I know the handbook included using the reference for OECD, but I didn't notice if it said how much of the test involves OECD. So I guess 2-part question. How much of the test does involve OECD? And if we're going through OECD, is it just based upon advisory 1, or do we need to have knowledge, a broad knowledge of all, 24 advisories?
I think, Nancy, that might be a question for you.
Oh my goodness. So I would say, based on my memory, first of all, yes, you would need to have a working knowledge of at least the terminology, the right way that definitions and that kind of thing that are different between FDA, EPA, and OECD GLP, right? You need to be able to, in a situation, understand that the terminology being used will help to direct you to which GLP you're needing to apply in the situational questions. So yes, you will need a working knowledge of at least Principle 1. And then also, I would say you will need a little more knowledge. I've got Sherry Lee, she's got her hand up, so she may help me or ask a question. But I would say you'd want to have read all 24, but have a good knowledge of at least the multi-site one, the QA responsibilities, the role and responsibilities, those in particular. And then Sherry Lee, did you have a little more to add to that? Is your hand up?
Sure.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
great job, Nancy. No, I come from an OECD site, so I'm actually up in Canada. So, for the most part, with your knowledge and understanding of the principles, so the main document, document 1, principles, and then, as Nancy mentioned, the multi-site guidance, the one that's applicable to QA, study director responsibility and TFM responsibility, that will cover the core of what you really need to know. Obviously, there's the information that for computer systems, but a lot of that is pretty much similar to the part 11, all the latest guidances and all the intricacies of that. The exam questions are not there to trick you up and see if you know the most obscure limited little point that was in the in vitro guidance on on test systems. So those ones, yes, definitely read through them, but you don't need to massively spend hours and hours studying. Just read through it. Most of the guidances, other than the newer ones, which are now, sort of changing slightly at different interpretations, but the initial first 18 of them, they truly just expand on the expectation. So they explain it principles a little bit better. That's all they're doing. So if you're reading through it, you're going to get the gist of it. QA, study director, TFM, multi-site, and then your main one are the ones that you will want to spend more time with.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you,
Thank you.
Sherry.
Yeah, I work with OECD countries as well in my job, but that's not the main focus. The main focus is EPA GLP. So I just I've read them, but want to make sure I'm going back through and wasn't sure how hard I needed to hit it or not. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And just to give you guys Sherry's bona fides, she's a longtime RQAP GLP who is also a board member who has also been on the Council on Professional Registration. So she does know from where she speaks. And she currently, I believe, sits on the re-registration committee as well. So she stays involved. I'm going to stop sharing my screen just so we can see faces better. And then we can move on to next questions.
I just wanted to say thanks to Sherry for helping out there. You have your hand up still, though? You have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a plug. So for anyone on the call who's not currently an SQA member, definitely encourage you to do that. Obviously, the cost of writing the exam is greatly reduced. The cost of re-registering is greatly reduced, and you have so many advantages. There's a lot of webinars that are offered throughout the year that are free for SQA members. So that's a great opportunity to get those points to re-register. So just throwing it out there.
And just to note that includes the free webinars for SQA members. That includes the ability to watch recordings of those webinars for free, so that if you want to earn units on your own time, being an SQA member is a great way to do that at a very reduced price.
I also just wanted to read out loud for the recording. There was a question in the chat about whether or not there would be study sessions for the fall 2024 exam prep. And the answer is that is likely. We will likely have another set of study sessions for fall 2024. And when you submit your application, Lydia is the one who handles it directly, and she will provide you with links to exam study resources that we have at that time.
And just again, a note, I'll read out for the recording. We went over this again, but we went over this earlier in the presentation. But there is those Candidate Connect forums, RQAP GLP and RQAP GCP Candidate Connect forums. They're not overly active, but if there are any updates that would be applicable to exam candidates, they'll always be posted in there. So if you're following that forum, you'll be able to see if there's any study groups available. Or recently, there were some folks who decided to form their own study group, and that all happened in the Candidate Connect forum. So if you have any questions, or if you want to talk with other candidates or potentially talk with any registrants, I would recommend joining that forum.
Thanks, Lydia. Looks like Camilla has her hand up again to share something.
It's just lower my hand about the study groups. We are planning it as a standing go also fall and the next year. We've been still recruiting more and more volunteers so that this is something that is going to be stable and not just one shot and that it disappears. So don't worry. I hope we have a good start and we have already volunteers for the fall and for next year. Next year.
Okay, thank you so much, Camilla. I see a hand up from, I am so sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I'm going to say Maja, but I know that may be incorrect.
Hi, it's Maya.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you all. This is really helpful. So I am interested for applying for a fall exam. So I would like to know, is it a window open already for submission for application, or is it a different timeline for the fall? And then I'm reading these notes here. It said, so after we apply, somebody will send us information for the exam study resources. So I just want to confirm the process to better understand this. Thank you.
Absolutely. So it's not necessarily beneficial to you to go ahead and submit your application early. The deadlines for the September-October application, the September-October exam period will be in August. And I would recommend waiting until at least July to submit. The reason for that is we work with testing partners on this exam, and we cannot start getting people registered to actually schedule their exam until our testing partner creates that event in their system, which typically isn't done until August, September. So it is really not necessarily that useful to have those applications in early. It can confuse our system. We don't have our system set up to take those applications yet. So I would wait until at least July or August, until at least July to submit your application. When you do so, I, as the program manager, will take in and process that application, and I will just confirm that I've received it. And when I send that confirmation email, I will also just include a link to any kind of information about study resources that is available at that time. Most likely it'll be very similar to what you see on the slide, but it will also include a link to sign up for the study group if that's available. If not, I'll include a line about when and how that study group information will be available.
I will also just add a caveat that if there's a reason that you need to register earlier, like I know some companies' fiscal years end June 30th, and they want to pay for the exam in that fiscal year because they have extra money in the budget or something, just reach out to us and we can help with any like logistical reasons that you might want to apply earlier.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left. So if anybody has any other questions, we've got time. If any of our RQAPs who have experience, who are on the call, want to chime in and share any thoughts or ask any questions, I will note just one thing that I wanted to say to current RQAPs while we're waiting for anybody to raise their hand or put things in the chat. I saw a comment in our survey recently that was saying that our system of earning re-registration units, which changed in 2019, I believe, is a lot harder because there's so many more units to earn. And I want to dispel that myth a little bit. I want to push back on it. We ask for 48 units in 3 years. It used to be 12 units in 3 years. However, it also used to be under the old system that 1 hour of training got you a quarter of a unit. We changed it to make the math easier. So now 1 hour gets you 1 unit. If you divide 48 by 4, you get 12. It's the same. It's the exact same number of units. So it should not be any harder. All right, we do have a question about the location for the exam. And thank you, Shoshana, for sharing that link. But Lydia, do you want to answer a little bit about our exam locations?
Yes, so the link that Shoshana shared is actually very useful. The way that our exam process works is that the exam is administered through our testing partners, including Pearson VUE. So what is available to you is Pearson VUE's testing center network. When you apply, if you apply for the exam and you are approved, and assuming that Pearson VUE has created that account, that exam period in their system, you will be sent an email with information on logging into the Pearson VUE system, and then you will use their system to select from available exam locations, dates, and times. So what you can do with that link that Shoshana sent is go down the page under scheduling for a computer-based exam. There is a drop-down menu, view test centers and find seat availability. If you click on your exam type, you'll be able to essentially go through a simulation of scheduling your exam that will show up-to-date information about what testing centers are nearby you and what exam appointments they have. So this is just a note that it will not be only, so it's not only SQA's RQAP exam that will be administered in the testing center. So we do recommend scheduling early if you have a specific testing center that you really do want to get into, and it is often booking up quickly. And that if you are planning on applying for the exam, that you look through for the available testing centers and ensure that there is one nearby you or you're prepared for OnView. And that if there is only one nearby you, I would recommend coming up with a backup plan just in case. Most people will be able to find a testing center that works for them, but it never hurts to be prepared.
And that link, just to say it out loud, it is linked on the RQAP, GCP, and GLP exam web pages, but it is also home.pearsonvue, that's PEARSONVUE.com/SQA.
And I did just want to make one final note. If you have the option to take the exam at a Pearson VUE professional testing center versus another location, we recommend opting for the Pearson VUE professional testing center, just as there are an increased number of issues with OnView. There are some, it is much more subtle. Almost all in-person testing centers are excellent, and we have not had many issues reported at all. But for the few issues we have had reported at in-person testing centers, they have often been at Pearson's larger network. So Pearson runs their own professional testing centers, and then they contract with other organizations such as like a local community college or a professional school. And those may not be quite as excellent testing environments as the professional testing center that is designed and dedicated to offering testing. So if you have any other questions about scheduling, please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you, Lydia. All right, this is a question I think for Nancy and Dawn, because I don't really know the answer, which is what type of calculations you need to be able to calculate on the exam. I know that the exam, the test is computer-based, whether you do it at home or do it in a testing center. I know there's a built-in calculator available to you when you're doing that, but I don't know why you would need that for this exam.
Yeah, I would say I'm trying to remember for this exam if there were any calculations to look at something like compliance or something along that line within a question, it's not going to be anything complex, and it could be something you could do very easily on the computer calculator. So there is not going to be any really complex formulas that you're going to need to memorize and know for that. I know for the GCP side. Is that true for the GLP side as well, Nancy?
I believe so. It's been a while since I took the exam, but I remember prepping and mentoring folks who are taking the exam, and I think it's maybe some simple dose, like you're given a situation and you just have to figure out very, very easy math on like, is it quite right? Is the study director doing what they're supposed to do? Yeah, so it's simple math. It wouldn't be a difficult calculation. So it's that kind of thing, maybe to do with the dose or the way something's applied or divided between areas, I think.
And then, Dawn, I'm going to kick this one to you specifically, though. Nancy, you are welcome to chime
Please
in as
do.
well.
Please do.
It says, I am not currently working as a clinical QA personnel, but my organization provides consultancy for clinical services establishments. What are my options for qualifying to take the GCP exam?
Yeah, it's a great question. If you're not currently working directly as a clinical QA person, it may be that you don't have the requisite experience. It's really a case by case basis, and if there's direct questions by that, we're always happy to look at someone's CV on a case by case basis. I'm not sure exactly what clinical service establishments mean, because that can mean a lot of different things. And when you're looking at clinical operations or working in clinical compliance, that's not quite clinical QA. It's clinical QA adjacent, but it's not quite clinical QA. So you may not have all the experience you need to be successful in the exam. And one of the things I want to say, and what we put up there, the reason we want you to have those experiences is if you don't have them, you're not going to be successful in the exam. And we're really trying to set you up to be successful in this exam. And we also are setting it up so we can say what this credential means. It means that we're showing that you are a quality professional in either GCP, GLP, or, later down the line when hopefully we have GMP, that you have the requisite experience to give you that credential and make that credential mean something. So, again, if you want us to look at a particular CV on a one-off basis, we can help you with that.
Great. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions? No, we're pretty close to the top of the hour. Give it just another minute or so. Okay, well, I am ready to call it if you all are. All right, thanks everybody so much. We will be, like I said, sending out copies of the slides and also a link to the recording of the presentation. And those will also be available if you have friends or colleagues who might benefit from seeing this. We'll put this on, it'll be on sqa.org/RQAP. Currently, you can see the slides and the recording from the last time we did this, which was in August, but we will replace that information with this one once we get it ready. So thank you all and hope to see you soon.